Hi everyone, Patricia Worby, Alchemy Therapies here. Delighted to today have with me my friend and colleague, Jackie Webster, who is also, she's a training mentor with the Chrysalis Effect and also a Christian spiritualist. And we decided today what we were going to talk about was big G, little g, actually talking about how God or the notion of God impacts our life and our work. And I know I've got quite strong views on that, and I'm sure you have, Jackie. So I thought, first of all, just maybe you'd like to describe a little bit what is a Christian spiritualist, because our audience may not know.
A Christian spiritualist is sort of the idea is in the title that I'm on one hand I'm very much a Christian, and on the other very much a spiritualist. And the Christian spiritualist movement has been around since 1920. And for me, I personally, now that I know what I know, I couldn't separate the two. They just go so well together. So it's believing that Christ is the Son of God, and the normal everyday what everybody understands about Christianity. Yeah, that's where I am. But also the combination with spiritualism is that belief in life after life, and the teachings that we get, which explain that, I suppose the way people understand is spirit return and spirit communication is entirely possible and actually encouraged by Christ. And our understanding within Christian spiritualism is that as long as we are turning to God first and foremost, then anything that Christ did that we can do also when in God's name. So our belief and our faith, I wouldn't say religion, our belief and our faith, which runs very strongly in me, is has come about through the teachings we have received on Christ's instructions through a medium in 1920 to 1950. And we have got volumes and volumes of the most in-depth teachings. So in a nutshell, that's sort of Christian spiritualism. It goes so much more than that, though.
Of course, yeah. We're only giving you a little flavour of what it is. But that's really interesting what you said about communication with spirit. Because, I mean, I think that's where possibly we overlap, because I definitely, I grew up as a atheist in a fairly atheist household. My dad was very anti-religion. He told me it was the opium of the masses. I think that's a very famous quote, and believed it to be a weakness of mind to believe in God, if you like. So whilst he was very tolerant of people who did, he just wanted no truck with it. And I think because I aligned with him and I wanted to take on his kind of morals, I was like, no, religion's not for me. And we never went to church. We never had a sort of faith as such. Having said that, my brother is now passionately pro-God, very religious, and we have long conversations about this, because what I've discovered over the years in my 50 odd years of life on earth here is that the study of science, which I always imagined to be in opposition to God, this notion that you could explain everything rationally and that there were no unknowns in the world, is now blown away by the notion of quantum mechanics and quantum physics, which is actually coming into biology now. And scientists at the top level are finding out that things like consciousness, which is more than just awareness, it's like an energy field that exists around and through the cosmos, is actually interacting with us in ways that we can talk to. And for me, that consciousness might be what you're calling God and spirit. And so when I'm working with people, I will often say their spirit is with us right now. And because I can kind of feel it, I'm not selling them a line. I'm not claiming to be a spiritualist myself, but I am aware of love that is present in the room when we're working.
Yes.
And I have to communicate that to them. I'm saying, you know, we're talking about this person, say it's her auntie or a grandma or someone, and I'm aware of this love that's permeating our conversation. And it's not like I'm feeling that, it's not me.
No.
And we're often working remotely. I'm working online, so I don't, you know, I'm not in the room with them sometimes. And that's where little g comes in, I think, because for me, it's like, we have connection with those that have departed, perhaps in ways that we don't understand. But it from a science point of view, before some of my fans might be going, what? Because they know I'm very hot on latest research and
yeah.
It is actually research supported in ways that ESP, for instance, extrasensory perception, the disappearance of space and time when consciousnesses are interacting with each other, you know, it's over a long distance. Distance is immaterial and time is immaterial, and this is absolutely supported. So it's something out there, isn't it? It's a real phenomenon.
It's very interesting. And I think, you know, I was born up as a Roman Catholic, and I've always sort of said I wasn't a very good one. I did try. And I think, you know, that's where possibly the Christianity side of it was there for me. I got that bit. But as I've sort of grown and learnt more, you see, I have a very different view in the fact I don't call it religion. What I have is a faith. It's not a religion. Christian Spiritualism is not a religion. It's a way of life. And religion is really, and this is just my beliefs as well, very personal beliefs, that religion was something that was created by man. You know, when you look back in the Old Testament of the Bible, and please don't think I know everything about the Bible, because I really, really don't. I can only quote a few verses, but I know the basis of it. But the Old Testament was all sort of brimstone and fire and 1,000 lashes and the wrath of God, you know. But this is why Christ came to say, actually, no, that's not what he's about. The whole thing is just what you said about God is love. That's the whole reason we're here, and it is all love. And when it's done from love, when the intent is love, then the protection is there from whatever you're doing. But religion was very much, you know, the people, the rulers in the temples, and the percentage in those days of the ones that had the money, had the power, and they created religion, and they created a lifestyle which kept the masses, those that had nothing, who lived lives that we can't even consider, the poverty, the fear, the massive fear in those days. It was all governed by a small percentage that had the power and the money, and they were the ones that created, you know, religion. That's how I feel about it. And for me, the God that is portrayed there is not the God that I know at all. I have a God that is more in line with what Jesus was talking about and why he came, and displayed it in sort of Christian spiritualism. So yeah, I wouldn't want to be put in the bracket of religion. For me, it's faith. Different.
Yeah. That's a very good distinction, and perhaps is why you and I can have this conversation.
Sure. Yeah.
Because if you were a Bible bashing kind of religious person saying you can't, you know, go out on a Sunday, or you have to wear certain clothing, I would say that's man-made, and it is all about power. And you're absolutely right. The power of men over women, power of the rich over the poor. And what we are about, I would say, is power through finding personal power in what we do with our clients or the people we work with. We enable them to contact a bigger self, a bigger picture, a sense of healing, which after all is a failure of connection to that bigger picture.
Yes, sure. I feel, you know, there's a lot of illnesses and a lot of condition, and you know, what scares me in some ways is when you look at modern day sort of society is that complete disconnect from source, whatever you want to call it. God is not a trendy word. You don't hear many kids on the corner going, yeah, I spoke to God. You don't. It's really, if you say the word God, people even of my own age group can go, whoa, okay. Then when they hear how I talk about God, then it's different. But there is that disconnection from source. And I suppose sometimes when I speak, I may be coming out with a few sort of biblical sort of terminologies, but we're so far off the path. It wasn't supposed to be like this. It's a lot of, I feel life is an awful lot better than it could have been if Christ had not have come. I hate to think where we would have been, because things changed at that time because of him coming. But it's not a cool word. And I think whether or not people think of it as God, the universe, some people, angels, energy, guides, helpers, loved ones. For me, that is God, because he is, I don't want to get told off, but I got told off once by calling him the top man. But he is, to me, we can have all this support, but he's the top man, so go straight to the top. If you've got a problem and you go into a store, no disrespect, but don't ask the person that's cleaning the floor. Ask to speak to the manager if you've got a really big problem. So for me, we're a bit out of alignment.
Well, we are totally out of alignment. What's really interesting for me at the moment is learning a lot of this quantum nature of who we are and how we interact with our world, is that we're full of light. We actually emit biophotons, okay, and particularly from our brain. All right, and human brains emit about 10, 15 times more than our closest primate relative. Okay, so there's a reason for that. We are coordinating. Light is, a primal thing. Nothing goes faster than the speed of light. It has information embedded within it, and I think for me, that is what I'm tuning into when I'm working with someone. I'm not working at an intellectual level. I can often be explaining stuff to them, and they'll be nodding away and blah, blah, blah. But when I'm working at that level where I'm trying to help them transform themselves, I'm getting influence from somewhere else, because I don't know the answers. I'm only a human being going through my journey. But there's something.
I don't want to interrupt, but you see, it's the fact that you say you're getting it from sort of outside yourself, but we are all wisdom inside. This human body is just this body we're in. That's just a garment. Inside is the soul and that divine spark, I suppose, the way I believe. So you're actually, when you start to work in what I call that zone, when you're just in that moment, and you don't always know why you're saying what you're saying, because you're getting this sort of gentle, loving, wonderful influence that is sort of guiding you. That's you as tapping into your higher self. That part of you that does know everything, and that comes from a higher source as well.
That's another term I often use, your higher self. If the person I'm working with isn't comfortable with the word God, which, to be honest, I don't use that often, unless I get somebody who has a religious or faith-based view of the world, and then I'm speaking to them in their language, so I will use that language. But actually, interestingly, up until about the age of, 30, 35, I was very anti any mention of God. And then I came across a book, because you were talking about the sort of guiding tracts that you read. I came across two books, actually. One was Conversations with God, which is a four-book series, and for some reason picked it out of the bookshelf, thinking, but I don't read books about God, but there was something about it, and then started to read it and thought, this is like no other book I've ever read about God, because this is talking real, and it's talking just what you said. It's not about limiting yourself. It's not about conforming to certain man-made ideas of holiness. It's about living in perhaps God's image, as Jesus did, well, we assume he did, but certainly his teachings are so compassionate for all, and I think compassion was such a big part of this book, and it said, you know, it's okay to be gay, for instance. It's like, woo! Well, you know, most religions would say, no, it's not, because only man and woman shall procreate and blah de blah. And as a gay person myself, that was very hard to hear, because it's like, well, suddenly I'm ostracized from life.
Yes, God loves everyone, but not you.
But doesn't love me because I'm somehow defective. And that's kind of the shame of growing up gay. And now we have people who don't even conform to gender identity. So there's kind of something going on in our world now where people want connection. They want a spiritual connection with something bigger than themselves, which is, you know, what drives ourselves to feel bigger, more safe, more connected to each other, which after all, when we take care of each other, we take care of our earth as well.
Absolutely.
That's what's, as you said, not happening right now. There's this big disconnect, and it's all about looking good and me, and it's
scary.
It's completely unsustainable. And you know, part of what you and I do is we help heal people to come back into connection with themselves, and therefore to come into connection with their part in humanity.
Yes.
Because I don't know if you agree, but my view is we're here to help evolve this universe, this world that we're in.
Sure. I mean, I very much, I sort of go along the line, again, through sort of the teachings, but what feels right with me is that we are here to love and serve one another. And that doesn't mean that you burn yourself out, as we see with our clients sometimes, because it's a two-way thing. You know, it's the fact that if you are serving one another, that means that you're also, as a person, you're letting others help you. And I think that sometimes we see in our work a lot of people who can be people pleasers and they don't know how to say no. But I always sort of flip that around a little bit and say that if you keep saying no to people, you're not giving them the opportunity to help you. You're denying them that which is great for the soul. So it's by saying sort of yes, you're giving that soul the opportunity to progress themselves by helping someone else. And I always, people will often say, you know, if they're questioning sort of like the afterlife or the existence of God, or, you know, I've always sort of thought, when you look at what we go through in life, oh my goodness, there's got to be more to life than this. There's got to be something, surely. This can't just be it. And I suppose the way I think now very much that this is our training ground. This is our school. We come to learn, to have experiences. You know, if we just sail through life with no problems whatsoever, we haven't learned a dot. We haven't. But when we look at all the obstacles and the trials and the tests, you know, you think, wow, that means at the end of your life, you've overcome, you've achieved, you've shown strength, endurance, courage, you know, and I think that, you know, for me is, wow, that just puts you in that. For me personally, I think, you know, I want to, when I pass over, I want to hit the ground running. I want to be ready to do God's work. That's important to me. And therefore it sort of makes a little bit of sense that, you know, the saying, you know, the strongest souls take on the greatest challenges. And you can look at all these people sort of online, on Instagram, in the media, who, you know, we know a lot of them suffer from extreme anxiety and lack of confidence, but everything is so materialistic and superficial. And it's like, nah, come on, let's try and do something.
Yeah, we're in a world where the superficial has won over, you know, it seems to be what everyone aspires to, but we know that the most significant moments of people's lives are emotional. Yes. They are the times when you've overcome something that was really challenging or difficult, like you know, if you've given birth to a child, or you know, you've come through a really difficult divorce, or you know, and you've reformed yourself through that experience. These are the moments that come to you when you review your life. They're not, you know, oh, you know, I've got 2,000 likes or, you know, somebody loves me, and you know, because we know this, we truly do know this is an artificial medium of externals. And I think part of getting older is moving from the world of the external to that of inner growth, contemplation, a sense of knowingness, of knowing who we are. And we, for many of us, it takes a lot of pain and suffering and sorrow to get there. And I know from my own experience, my greatest growth moments have been after those experiences, where I'm down on my knees and I'm going, I can take no more, this is enough. Those have always been the times when I have been forced to do it differently and look at myself and kind of learn better how to live in this life. And I'm not saying I'm there yet, because clearly, things are still
work in progress, all of us.
Exactly. But, I do feel that this awareness of something bigger than ourselves as a guiding spirit or guiding light. I keep coming back to light, because for me, light,
that's what it is.
Beautiful. It's a great metaphor for. I'm in fact about to write a book called The Life Illuminated, and I think it's just such a, the idea of illumination, of shining light into all the dark areas, is such a wonderful idea of what therapy is, or helping people in whatever area you're in.
Well, sure. I mean, I'm going to be right there beside you with that, because, of course, as a Christian, with Christ, the light of the world. It is about light. We want the lightness. We don't want the darkness. Certainly not long term. We don't, want the darkness. The light is so important. And I know that I don't want people to think I'm flippant or anything like that. But I have got rather a wacky sense of humour at times, and God just, oh my goodness, he has got the patience of a saint, shall we say, because he tolerates me so well. But I can have times in life when things can be really, really, really tough. And I have at times just said, Lord, can you just throw me a bone? Please just throw me a bone. And without doubt, it turns up. And why it still surprises me every time that happens, I do not know. But he's my go-to person. He absolutely is. I've got a wonderful support network. Some very close to me at the moment, but wonderful support network. But he's my absolute first and foremost, because he's never ever let me down, ever. Always there for me. Which is, and that's it's in here. It's absolutely in here. It's an amazing feeling. So he's used to me saying, please just throw me a bone.
I think I've said similar words at times in my life. I probably don't think of God as he. That's my only difference.
Well, I say he, Patricia, but God, for me, he is the mother, father, God. We say he because it's just, but it's absolutely he and she, female, male, everything. Well, he, just out of, I suppose, that's how it usually is said. But he is, we are all equals, and I often say when I pray, I say my mother, father, God.
Okay. So it's a big part of who you are, really. It's a big part of your identity, and I know it's something you want to develop even more in the future. And I just know you mentioned, you've got a great sense of humour, which I've witnessed, and we all know. You're and isn't that great? You don't have to be serious about it. You don't have to be like the sermon in the pulpit. It can actually be something that is vivacious, that is engaging, that says life is here and it's worth something to live well. And that's, I try and use humour a lot too in the work I do. People often come to me and they've done a lot before they get to me, so they're very serious about the business of recovery. And I can remember taking one woman aside and just saying, but we'll have a laugh as well. And her face was just like, what?
Are you sure?
No, it was like, who is this woman telling me I'm having fun? Because they've lost that connection with joy. I mean, and that's the subject of another talk entirely, but they've lost a sense of oneness and connection with laughter, which is so connecting with people, and
it's a gift.
it's a gift. So you have that in spades, and a joy to know and a joy to work with. And anyway,
oh, bless you, so you.
Well, there you go. It's a mutual love fest. Thank you.
Yes.
Also, on a serious note, folks, both Jackie and I are contactable. Obviously, if you want to work with either of us in any capacity. Obviously, my links are always at the end of the video. So great to hear from you. Great to speak with you, Jackie, today.
Oh, I do, my love. Thank you.
And
always good.
Yeah, with your work and your passion, because it's always wonderful to talk to people who are as passionate as I am about this kind of, I don't know what you call it, enlightenment, recovery.
Let's go with that. Enlightenment.
Progress,
I like that.
whatever it is.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a joy and a treat, and we're very, very lucky to be working in this arena at this time. So I'll leave it there. Have a great day. Have a great rest of your week, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.